Multilinguals, in which language do you think? It depends on the setting, country, people around me, etc., and what language I am speaking at the time. My brain usually adapts to the environment. Now that I am in the US, most of my thoughts are in English. My inner voice is my native language, but I fairly routinely dream in the other two languages I speak regularly. Both, Spanish and English. Even though Spanish is my native, I sometimes let out a fuck when hurt or during sex. Feels so smooth and natural. English. One time I thought in Vietnamese and it freaked me out because I had never done that before. A mix. Some concepts are better expressed through other languages, so my mind tends to use whatever fits best to the situation. I grew up in Japan as a non-Japans. My native language is English, but my elementary and middle school education was in Japan. Up until I was around 15, I think my primary language of thought was Japanese, and speaking. Since then, I've attended English high school and university, so currently English is what I think in. However, if I'm in an environment where only or mostly Japanese is used, I'll probably start thinking in Japanese more often. I currently have to think about thinking in Japanese to think in Japanese. Swiss German spiced up with English and Italian. I don't think in any language. English. I was born and raised in France, moved to US for work after graduating college. It has been 10 years. I now dream, curse, and think in English. Recently I've been feeling a stranger to my own country. I wish there were more studies on multilingual/multicultural people. It is fascinating. For many years now, I've been feeling that I had a slightly different personality in French and in English. My voices are different too. I am curious if other people feel or experience something similar. Depending on who I'm with and who/what I'm thinking about. Usually English. If I'm very mad, Arabic swears are much ruder than English, so I'll think in Arabic. I speak Hebrew, English, Russian and Arabic. It's weird, but I was thinking in Hebrew all my life, but because I surf the internet so much it switched to English in the last 2 years. I found better words to express myself in English. I speak Russian at my job most of the day. And I don't tell the Arab workers that I know what they are talking about. That's super entertaining. A mess of English Russian with occasional Italian song lyrics. Oftentimes, when I'm upset or tired, I think in German. Since I'm still learning and I'm not fluent, a good amount of my thoughts are in English. English. I'm trilingual, French, English and Dutch, and have a weird mix. My day-to-day thinking will be in English as most of my conversations are. However, for some reason whenever I need to count something, like the amount of cards in a deck of cards, it'll be in French, or when I'm about to cross the street and a car stops to let me pass, I'll thank them in my head in French as well, and only really think I Dutch when I'm spending time with the people I went to school with. So I speak Romanian, but for no reason I think in English. English, which is my third language, Macron ___/Macron. I am from the Netherlands. I speak Dutch, English, German and a bit of Spanish. Before my real job I was a ski teacher in Austria. At my ski school the majority was Dutch, some were Austrian or German. There was one English ski teacher that couldn't speak German, he only spoke English. I would hang most of the time with the English ski teacher, and it got up to the point that my thoughts were in English. So the conclusion is that it depends on the setting/country/people you are dealing with. It's kinda weird because I'm native French Canadian and rarely speak English, maybe 5 times a year on Discord, but I'm so used to use English resource for both work and personal stuff, as I'm mostly on the computer, web developer and gamer mostly, that more than half my thoughts are in English. I tend to forget French words I don't use a lot, so my sentences are like French but heavily patched over with English. It's weird because in my head it's easy to pronounce right, but I really have to focus to pronounce it well while speaking English. Still German, but my mum was born in Cuba, spoke Spanish as her first language nearly all of her life. She's been about 20 years in Germany and I've asked her before she thinks German now. normally my native one, but if I'm in an English-speaking environment, like Reddit, I think in English. It's natural for me, saves me from translating everything from text to thought to an answer again. I speak 5 very different languages: English, German, Spanish, Romanian, Hungarian, and I regularly use all of them due to the fact that I've lived in several countries during my childhood and my current city is very international. If I'm with other people, I always think in the language of the conversation that we are having. If I'm on my own, I think in Hungarian, which is my native language. This was 100% my post a few days ago. But it's okay. You can slightly change the title and get an award. English for the most part, but some in Swedish, my first language, too. I think in both languages depending on the setting. I feel like I have a special personality for every language I speak. Before going to university I mainly thought in my native language and freaked out when my inner monologue started to be in English. The real questions is, in what way does deaf people think if they don't know what words and speaking sounds like? Do they see sign language when thinking or? I dream in all the languages I know, even the ones I know a feel of. Everybody speaking in a different language yet fully understanding each other. Edit, few. English, but when I'm stressed I'll think expletives in Spanish. I think almost entirely in English, which is my native language. If I'm communicating with clients, I'll sometimes think in another language, but only while I'm thinking about what to say and writing it. I do often use non-English words while thinking in English if they happen to be better at expressing the particular concept I want to express. All of them. I'm a translator and speak 5 or so languages. Sometimes you remember a word in several idioms, except the one you want, and end up babbling an unintelligible mix. Sometimes in the middle of a conversation you think something in a language, tries to translate and it makes no fucking sense. When you get drunk with other people that also talks several languages, everyone eventually speak as they please. In the moment all of you think that you're into the conversation, and on the day after you discover that nobody was really talking about the same subject. So there you go. I'm fluent in Japanese and English. When I'm thinking it's in severely broken English and Japanese. But somehow my thoughts come out coherent in whatever language I need to speak in. I get the general words and verbs in my head, and somehow when I go to actually speaking Japanese or English it comes out right. I think it's because I often had to translate between languages, or switch back and forth between the languages growing up. For example, co-worker, English, we're going to get some fruits from the cafeteria for lunch. What would you like us to grab for you? My thoughts, kino, yesterday, ichigo, strawberry, ate already. Apple want to taberu ima, now, maybe. Okay. Kimarimasu, decision made. Ringo, apple, please grab me. What I say, I had strawberries, but feeling like an apple will be good today. Grab one for me. Thanks. Usually in English. If I'm shopping for food or clothes, I think in Russian. Specifically, I think what my Russian mom would say to me about what I'm buying. With my other languages, I think in the language of what I'm watching/listening to, or if the person I'm with speaks that language primarily. Hey. I posted this same question last week. English. I don't even know. Usually the language of the country I'm in, or the language I'm using the most at the time. Depends what I am reading, listening or talking at that moment. Depends. In the US/Canada or England, English. In Mexico/Central/South America and Spain, Spanish. English, most of the time. I'm Dutch. A mixture of Finnish and English with a little Swedish tossed in. Fingelska. It depends on the setting and who is around. But I'd say I think equal amounts in English and Welsh. I've noticed I'm more likely to think in English in the morning and Welsh in the afternoon though. Both my first language, Portuguese, and English. I think in English a lot more cause it's easier. Most of the time I actually don't even think. Usually Norwegian if I haven't talked to anyone in 2 hours. And English if I have. So I mostly think in Norwegian. My first language is Spanish, and to learn English I taught myself to think in English, and now I think in English most of the time, but it can be a mix of both. Depends. Lately, I've been speaking English, thinking in French, and dreaming in Norwegian, which I only know from Lillehammer. I'm German, speak German, English and Romanian and mostly think in German, but if I'm for example playing a game in English also think in English. My main is Spanish and I think in Spanish, but I can fluently speak English and a little of Dutch and Korean. Depends. Mostly on which language gets regular usage. But I've thought in pure German before, many times. Usually reading or writing it at the time. It's usually a mix though, and then sometimes trying to remember which word is from which language. Wingdings. Both Russian and English. Most of the time in German and English, but if I'm exposed to a language for a decent time, it switches to that, which gets awkward when I don't actually speak that language. Most of the time, I think and speak to myself in Italian, my native language, and well, the one I use the most since I live in Italy, with frequent bits of English. Then it can change, depending on whatever environment I'm in and how comfortable I am with a specific language. For example, English and Italian are interchangeable for me, and so there isn't a set language in my mind, but if I'm speaking in Spanish I will think in Spanish, although with mistakes and lots of how do you say? German I can understand, but my speaking ability absolutely sucks, so it's full Italian with mental exercises to be able to formulate phrases. Depends on what I'm doing or what language suits the situation best. When I'm talking to my parents or do anything related to Chinese I think in Chinese. When I'm outside or at school I think in Dutch. Most of the time and sometimes at school or outside I tend to think in English. I don't even know why. I don't live in an English-speaking country nor is my native tongue English. Probably because I'm on the internet for way too much.